Chapter 6.
Whew.
Into action. Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We've been trying to get a new attitude.
What?
Wow.
A new attitude?
Oh my goodness. And what's this other word? A new relationship with our Creator? Wow. Looks like we've done step 3, doesn't it?
A lot of growth going on here.
And discover the obstacles in our path, which is step 4. We've admitted some certain defects. We've ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We've put our finger on it, on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now they're about to be cast out. This requires action on our part, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. This brings us to the 5th step in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough to admitting these things to ourselves. There is doubt about that in actual practice. We usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us thought it necessary to go much farther. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reason why we should do so. The best reason first. Now listen to this, please. If we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. And I've seen this numerous times. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives, trying to avoid the humbling experience. They have turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk. Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they failed. We think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. They took inventory all right, but they hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone all their life story. Now, again, that last sentence I just read there about all their life story, that has to do with the defects of character that we've seen, not our life history. Okay? So the point is, and why I'm going to share this, is that I've seen so many people who use Alcoholics Anonymous like a revolving door. And people are fortunate to make it back. Because some people are not fortunate. Some people do not make it back. Some people do die out there. And the ones who make it back, I always ask them, what step were you on before you went back out? And the vast majority will say, I never completed a 4th and 5th step. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they did step 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so what? You know, and I have nothing against church. I'm involved in my church. Remember, though, the majority of church members do step 1, 2, 3, 12. You know? So the point is, that we're here to look at our own selves, our own inventories. We only thought we had lost our egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense of if we find it necessary until we told someone all their life story.
Yeah. More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much the actor. The outer world he presents is his stage character. To the outer world he presents his stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does during his sprees. Right, and it goes down, and it says he is under constant fear and tension that makes for more drinking. Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance of recovery. You know, that's when I did my first 4-step, my sponsor said to me, he said, fourth or fifth step, he said, when we're done, he said, have you left anything on the shelf? I said, no, it's good. I got it all. You know, he said, okay. Well, I walked out of the apartment, around to the parking lot, and grabbed the door handle of my car. And I had to turn around and go back in. You know, because I was sexually assaulted when I was a kid too. And I wasn't about to tell anybody about that. But I had to go back in there, and I had to get it out. But once it came out, was it a load, you know, off of my shoulders, you know, and out of my mind. Because, you know, I was the same, kind of like Jim was talking about. I was scared to death inside, but I would be stomping your butt, you know, because I didn't want you to know that I was scared, you know. So you know, those things, you know, I had to get it out, or maybe I wouldn't even be sitting here today if I'd have held on to that, you know. My mother didn't know about it till I was 47 years old, you know, and I mean, that's just but it's not that happened. Yes, that wasn't good, but it's the things that I built in my life as defects of characters to hide that or keep that down, right? You know, you were never going to get on top. I was always going to be on top, and it didn't matter if I stomped you in the ground to get there. I was always going to be on top, you know, and I always wanted to be heard. I always wanted you to recognize me, you know. So all these defects, you know, the lying and wearing different hats was built on top of that for me to be able to survive what I thought.
Exactly. Page 75, when we decided who was to hear our story, we waste no time. We have written inventory, step 4, and we're prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we're about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we're engaged upon a life and death errand. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They'll be honored by our confidence.
Yep.
Okay, now I want you to listen to this next paragraph, please. We pocket our pride and go to it, eliminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we've taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. Now here are the 5th step promises. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone in perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we're beginning to have a spiritual experience. The feeling of the drink problem has disappeared, will often come strongly. We feel that we're on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. Now, tell me, guys, I sponsor who balk on this inventory and the 5th step. I'll go back to this page and ask them, why would you not want this?
Amen.
Why? And these are the 5th step promises. It happened to me. After I did my inventory, my first inventory, it began to happen. The more inventories I did through the 10th step, it got better and better and better. Like I just shared with you a while ago, when I was able to share that knowing thing in my life, it got better and better. It says here that I can be at perfect peace and ease. My fears fall from me. I begin to feel the nearness of my Creator. I began to have spiritual beliefs, but now I'm having a spiritual experience. The drink problem has disappeared. I feel like I'm on the broad highway of the spirit of the universe. Returning home, I find a place with which we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. That's the fifth step prayer. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask that if we've omitted nothing. That's continuance of the fifth step prayer. For we were building an arch of which we thought we would walk through as a free man at last. We talked about the arch. We talked about the cornerstone. We talked about the
Foundation stone.
cornerstone. Now we're talking about the arch. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement, put in the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? Now let's look here on page 76. If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6. We've emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we had admitted objectionable? So as we see here, step 6, we've seen our character defects. In step 5, in step 4, we admitted it to God and to ourselves and to another human being in step 5. The sponsor or whoever hears our inventory or sees our inventory will point out the character defects. Now it says here, and we still cling. We now that we take them all, every one. We are now ready to let God remove from us all the things which have been admitted objectionable. Can we now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something we will not let go of, we ask God to be willing. That's the 6th step prayer. Now, we're going to look at this next paragraph, okay? When ready, we say something like this. As we know, this is a 7th step prayer. It says, my Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me the strength as I go out here to do your bidding. Now look at this next word. Amen. Now let's go back to page 63. We did the 3rd step prayer, where we asked God to take away our difficulties. We asked God to remove us from the bondage of self. So then we look on page 67, the top of the page. We do our first prayer for the 4th step of resentment. Then on page 68, we do our 4th step prayer for fear. On page 69, the second full paragraph, we do our first prayer for sex in our inventory. Next paragraph, we do our second prayer for sex in the inventory. On page 70, the second paragraph, we do our 3rd step, we do our 3rd prayer for sex. On page 75, we do our 5th step prayer. On page 76, we do the 6th step prayer. And also under that, we do the 7th step prayer we just did. Now, the difference is between that prayer and all those other prayers is this prayer says, Amen. It's done. Period. So be it. Meaning, God's our sponsor, and I'll share with them after we do this step together. That whatever date that is, let's say, for example, today's April 12th. As of today, April 12th, 2025, you never have to live this way again for the rest of your life. Period. It's done. Amen.
Yep. Finished.
It's finished. What you do now is only, if you do it again, it's only you and your self-will. But God has now removed from you these character defects. What you want to do with them is right here. Amen. It's done. Wow. What a freedom. What a freedom that I got to experience with that. It says here that now we need more action, which we thought faith without works is dead. So let's look at steps 8 and 9. Well, okay, a lot of times you'll hear people say, I'm working on my 8th step. I'm working on my 8th step. No, you're not. You've already done your list in the 4th step.
Yep.
So are you willing or not? Willingness, that's all. Are you willing to have God take away these? Are you willing to make amends to people? Are you willing to make amends? That's all it is.
Don't burn your 4th step. You're going to need it.
That's right.
We have listed all the persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took our inventory. It's like Jim just said. We subject ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live life on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, we agreed in the beginning we would go to any length for victory over alcohol. I've had sponsorships that had me write on the first page that I'm willing to go to any length for, to recover from alcohol, and sign it and date it,
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
James.
Okay.
And and he would always, if I started to balk at it, he'd take me to that page. Did you write that? Did you sign that? Is that you? Or, you know what I mean? He always held me accountable to my own words, not to his, right? Probably there are still some misgivings as we look over our list of business acquaintances, friends that we hurt. We may have felt defiant about going to some of those on spiritual basis. Let us be reassured, to some people we need not, and probably should not, emphasize a spiritual feature on our first approach. We might prejudice them. At the moment we are trying to put our lives in order, but this is not an end in itself. Now here, this sentence right here is our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us.
There you go.
The word fit, F-I-T, means to prepare and ready. So I am to prepare and ready myself to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. The people about us could be the gal, the cashier at the Circle K or the 7-Eleven, right? Or at the Reserves, or the senior couple coming out of Home Depot with a pallet of tile trying to put it in the back of their little car. It's not just about people in fellowship. It's about me being able to live out in the world and be helpful also there. It is seldom wise to approach an individual who still smarts from our injustice to him and announce that we have gone religious. In the prize ring, that would be called leading with the chin. Why lay ourselves out to being branded fanatics or religious bores? We may kill a future opportunity to carry the beneficial message. But our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrong. There's another good sentence. He is going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than our talk about spiritual discoveries, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Watch my feet. Don't listen to my mouth.
Exactly.
My feet will tell you the truth.
And also in this paragraph, I was told if I want to make financial amends, a person could care less about my spiritual program. They'd much rather see a $5 bill than a 5-minute sermonette about my recovery. They don't care. What are you going to do about it? Also, what he just read there, our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Now, I've taken a course in what's called spiritual numerology. Numbers and how they react to the world and to the universe. The number 7 is considered a perfect number. It's just the creation, 7 days, 7 seas, 7 continents. Look at here, what we just read. On what page? 77. To be our real purpose is to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Whether you believe in his beliefs or not, it doesn't matter. But a guy in Tulsa built a university on South Lewis, and the address is 7777 South Lewis. And built a university that has transformed parts of the world. Go figure. Yeah. So what I'm saying here is, though, is when I saw that, I was probably a couple years sober. And I thought, is this book divine or what? I mean, it's just amazing. It really is amazing. It says here, we do not use this as an excuse for sliding away from the subject of God. When it will serve any good purpose, we are willing to announce that our convictions with tact and common sense. The question of how to approach this man we hated will arise. If he has done us more harm than we have done him, and though we may have acquired a better attitude toward him,
Not the attitude.
we're still not being too keen about admitting our faults. Nevertheless, with a person we dislike, we take the bit by our teeth. It is harder to go to an enemy than to a friend. But we find it much beneficial to us. We go to him as a helpful and forgiving spirit, confessing our former ill feelings and expressing our regret. You know, I was sober. My first round of amends, I was making my amends, and I was getting a lot of good response. But then, though, I kind of started sliding away from my sponsor and his advice, and I can do it on my own. And I go to people and tell you how sorry I was. And people would reiterate how sorry I was. And I'd leave there feeling more guilty than when I got there. Until I was at this Oklahoma State Conference, it's been many years ago. Here a speaker from California named Hugh Douglas. And he said amends means to set right or wrong. That's all. He said there's 27 amendments to the Constitution. Not one said they're sorry they're written. An amendment means to set right or wrong. He said, and go to people and ask them that one question. What can I do to set right the wrong? And it worked. I could not believe it. Guess what happened to me? I got to know a new freedom and a new happiness. I no longer regard the past in which to shut the door on it. And I could comprehend the word serenity.
And no peace?
And I knew peace. Wow. Amazing. And see, why do I share that? Why do I share that? Because I will not get those by coming in here and chanting and hooping and hollering during those, quote, promises. Mm-hmm. I get them only as a result of working steps 1 through 9. Yep. Period. Okay.
All right, so in the very last sentence of this page is, we are there to sweep off our side of the street, realizing that nothing worthwhile can be accomplished until we do so. Never trying to tell him what he should do. His faults are not discussed. We stick to our own. If this inventory's mine, I have to make amends for my actions. I don't try to bring up their faults. I don't try to, do my blaming that I can do so perfectly, right? I have to, and that's really why I need to do the inventory to find out what I really did wrong. Have you ever had to make an amends for making an amends? That sucks. Because I thought that I could make the amends that I knew, how I'd hurt them, but I didn't. They let me know that what I was saying was just a scratch of the surface. And I actually had to say, well, because it was getting pretty bad, I had to say, well, I'm going to have to go get right with God. So I got out of there, and then I had to come back at a different time and make that amends again, but the right amends.
It says here on page 78, it says in 9 cases out of 10, the unexpected happens. Sometimes the man we're calling upon admits his own faults. So feuds of years standing melts away in an hour. Rarely do we fail to make a satisfactory progress. Our former enemies sometimes praise what we're doing and wish us well. Occasionally they will offer assistance. It should not matter, however, if someone does throw us out of his office. We made our amends. We made our demonstration. We've done our part. It's water over the dam. Okay, so the next few paragraphs, we're not going to go into this for time's sake. But the fact is, though, it's going to tell us exactly how to make amends if you owe creditors, monetary amends. It's going to show us how to do if you owe your wife or your spouse money through divorce proceedings. It's also going to tell you about how to do it on your job. Okay? But you notice here on page 79, though all these reparations take innumerable forms, there's some good general principles which we find guiding. Reminding ourselves that we have decided to go to any length to find a spiritual experience. And here's the 9-step prayer. We ask that we are given strength and direction to do the right thing no matter what the personal consequences may be. We may lose our position or reputation or face jail, but we are willing. We have to be. We must not shrink at anything. And my sponsor, why I wanted to read that paragraph, my sponsor made me do a financial amends to a guy who I thought would probably kill me if I saw him again. And it was over a illegal drug debt from many years ago. And my sponsor said, I don't care, you're the end consumer of a product, legal or illegal. If you owe him money, it's still bothering you, pay him. And this guy was notorious. But anyway, I prayed about it, talked to more people about it, and I was able to contact him through friends of friends. He had moved to Houston, and his daughter was going to OU, and so we agreed to meet in Norman at a restaurant, and I went there very apprehensive, scared to death, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I was sitting in the restaurant. I kept waiting and waiting, and finally I called the guy. I said, I'm here in the restaurant. He said, well, so am I. I looked around. I didn't recognize him. He had moved to Houston and he got sober through the church. I didn't recognize him. His hair was all cut and trimmed and styled, We walked over there and we shook hands. I told him I was here to make those amends to him for the money I owed him for that drug debt years ago. He said, huh? He had no idea what I was talking about.
Go figure.
But I did. He said, don't worry about it. He said, just give to charity or whatever. That's what I was talking about, having to go to any length.
Any length, yeah.
And what I got to experience when I left there, I could breathe. So it was just, It works. It works. It really, really works. So,
Yes, putting everything in God's hands, it always comes out much better than I ever did. I don't know why, but it does. You know,
so here on page 79, it talks more about how to make the amends, even with the financial. Then also with the if you're having trouble with a spouse,
right.
tells how to make those amends. And then we on page 82, there's the second prayer for the ninth step. It says each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness upmost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we are dealing with the most terrible human emotions, jealousy. That's when we're talking about the spouses.
Mm-hmm.
Good generalship may decide the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk the face-to-face combat. If we have no such complications, there's plenty we should do at home. So now we're talking about what we should do at home. But let's look, though, at that bottom paragraph. And I'm going to ask yourself, have you ever thought this way or felt this way? The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken. Relationships are dead. Affections have been uprooted. Selfishness and inconsiderate habits have been taken the home in turmoil. You feel like a man unthinking when he says his sobriety is enough. He is like the farmer who came out of the cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife he remarked, "Don't see nothing here. Matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind start blowing?" How many of you can relate to that? Well, I can. I mean, tremendously. My second marriage, I left a wife and two kids, and one kid was special, financially devastated to the point she couldn't even get a checking account. Wow. But because of the financial amends I made to her, today we're best friends. Those stepkids still call me dad. One of the kids has a daughter. She calls me grandma, or she calls me grandpa. Yeah. I'm just sharing with you what happens to us. When we do all this stuff. I mean, I'm sure we all have those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But I can just share with you my experience, my strength, and my hope when it comes to this.
83. Yes, yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love.
You notice how there's now 3 prayers for the ninth step?
Spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. That's a must. Just another must. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone, right? They're looking at us, to see how we're going to be, because we're the one that's been that one they didn't want us to be for a long time, right? Oh, let me see. There be some wrongs. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. And there may be a valid reason for postponing in some case, but we do not delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, and considerate and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We do not crawl before anyone.
Amen.
So I had an amends that I just made last year, my last amends. And it was to a church in Michigan. Because when I was a little kid, we used to, on Sunday, we'd go to Sunday school and they'd take collections, and then the teachers would put the offering plates outside the door in the hallway, and I would go and empty the plates, and I'd steal the money. You know, and that was that. You know, I went to that school for 7.5 years of my life. It was a Lutheran school. You know, but I went back and made that amends to that school, that church and school last year. You know, face to face. You know, I mean, it says you could send a letter, but if I don't make these amends for me, if I don't make them face to face, when I hang up the phone, I say to myself, did he accept my amends? Did it work? It's still it's still rolling around between my ears. But if I'm sitting face to face with you, I get to see your body. I get to see your eyes, right? I know whether it took or it didn't. Because remember, we read, fancied or real.
That's right.
It has the power to kill us. You know, I need to know, because if I don't know, I don't know, and I can't do that. I can't do stuff and not know, because it just runs and runs and runs and runs. So for that matter, for that reason, I make my amends in person.
Exactly. Now let's look at the bottom paragraph of 83. And I don't know how it is in Ponca City, but I know it in my area. There's even on the wall, there's what's called the AA promises. Let's read the promises. Let's read the promises. Well, we're getting ready to read what's called the 9th step promises. Every step we've talked about already, well, we see has a promise. Now you tell me, please, when did it start to say that you need to hoop and holler and chant during this process? Quickly, slowly, work. Where did all that stuff come from? No one knows. But it has evolved now into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Not here.
Good.
Not in Pontotoc City.
Good. That's also a thing. Good. But it says here, let's read this. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, what development? Step 9. We'll be amazed when we're halfway through. Now look at this. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose our interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude,
What?
huh? No kidding. Huh? Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change.
Man.
Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. And we'll intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Then it says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Look at this. A promise. Another promise. They will always materialize if we work for them. Now this tells me that I cannot get them by coming in here and chanting during them. I get them only as a result of working steps 1 through 9. When I'm halfway through my amends process, I'm going to experience this. I know I'm sharing this with you, my own experience. I've experienced this. And my God, I never wanted to go back.
Right.
I mean, the fact is, Just like on the fifth step promises, I ask guys I sponsor, why would you not want this? You know, and it says here, other these described promises, we think not, they're being fulfilled among us. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. But here's it's not abstract. This is concrete. They always materialize if we work for them.
That's right.
If we work for them.
So the word painstaking, it says, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development. So am I painstaking today about this work that I'm doing? Or was I only painstaking when I was at this step?
So with that, it says our next thing here we're going to do is, says this thought brings us to step 10. So we're going to conclude today, and we're going to come back tomorrow morning, and we're going to do step 10, 11, and 12, and show you how to live life out there in that real world with these real problems, with real assholes.
What?
What? Exactly. And be able to live life successfully. So like I said, remember, step 1, 2, and 3, we got ourselves right with God. Step 4 through 7, we got ourselves right with ourselves. Step 8 and 9, I've got myself right with you. Now, if I'm right with my God, I'm right with myself, and I'm right with you, I'm everything I was ever born to be. I'm complete and I'm whole. You notice in step 2, it talks about believing in a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity. Well, I saw the word being restored to, and I thought, no, wait a minute. If I'm going to be restored to sanity, that must mean I'm insane. And I started correlating behavior I did out there to some pretty crazy things. The Tulsa world will even prove it. I did some pretty crazy things. But then I got a sponsor, and he told me, he said, look at that word in the dictionary. The word sanity is defined as complete and whole. Mm-hmm. If I'm right with my God, I'm right with myself, I'm right with you, I'm complete and I'm whole. As a result of steps 1 through 9. Now, what we're going to do tomorrow is see how we continue to do this. And how we're going to improve upon this. And how we get to live out there in that real world with those real problems and never have to think about drinking the rest of our life. And it works.
We might even make the determination between step 10 and step 11.
Exactly. So,